to,
You do? Oh, could I have one back?
sure. I didn't know if there was any reason I needed to.
I'm working on that number to change it. You wanted it broke down?
Yeah.
I will do that.
You ready? Almost. Here you go. All right, call the meeting to order with roll. Sean, absent. Tom?
Present.
Christie?
Here.
Stephen? Here. Dennis? Here. Okay. All right. You guys have had does anybody have anything you need to add to the agenda?
Railroad depot and two open city sheds up front.
The what?
The two city sheds.
Oh, two city
Yeah,
shields.
the one that's don't have no doors on it.
Okay.
Did I have on there that, there was an invoice from the SAM?
So that would be on the bills, or?
Yeah, but it's not in the bills because I had it separate. So I would like to decide if we're supposed to do it.
I do have some information too, Dennis, on sewer cameras, if you're interested.
Yeah, I do too.
Okay, under information items,
Thank you. I don't know how I left that there.
sewer camera.
Sewer camera.
All right. So everybody's had a chance to look over the minutes and financial statements from the last meeting. Is there any additions or corrections to these? So, I think for the public forum tonight, we have Tara here from the superintendent of schools, and she would like to talk to us about the bond issue for a few minutes. So, your floor is yours, young lady.
All right, Pete Hilgenbrink is with me as well tonight. He's our board president. So I'm Tara Lewis. I'm the superintendent of the school district here, and I wanted to come and give you some factual information about the upcoming election and the bond issue and ballot issue that we have. I have some pictures of the inside of the school, some different things to point out if you haven't been to Mark Twain for a while. I thought that would be good to pass around. He has a pamphlet that has a lot of information about the topic as well, and then I just have a few talking points. I won't take a lot of your time tonight. So there are two questions that will appear on the April 7th ballot. The first question is a no tax increase bond for $4.75 million. The second question is a 20-cent operating increase to generate $3.25 million. So the two together would generate $8 million. The age of the buildings, just to point out, the high school was built in 1959, and then the junior high was added in 1970, which translates to 61 years and 50 years. 4 different benefits that would be generated through this funding would be asbestos removal. We have approximately 100 square feet of tile within Mark Twain that has asbestos, and then even in the junior high area, the tile itself isn't, but the adhesive mastic is. And so that could all be removed and not have to be worried about in the future. Security and safety for our students is always a paramount, and we would be adding additional lighting on the exterior to brighten up the grounds and make it a safer area in the evenings for events. The building entry points would be highlighted in the safety. We have some safety issues going on right now with, at Mark Twain, we've had to close the high school entrance the last couple of years because there's no office area right at that entrance where you come in under the awning. and so we designated that. We knew that that wasn't a very safe thing, and so we moved the entrance down to the junior high, which frustrates people, and so we'd like to be able to somehow get some office space back near the high school entrance so that you can go to the high school and the junior high separately. Highway entry is also an interesting area. Whenever the elementary was added in 2016, the school talked with MoDOT. I actually did that, and I didn't get anywhere with that topic. They were not interested in working with us on adding a turn lane. They just, the manager at that time wasn't interested. He has since retired. There's a new person, and I'm having good conversations with that person. One of the areas that we would have to address is the Mark Twain entrance and the elementary entrance are too close together for a turning lane because that actually causes more issues. And unfortunately, one of the reasons why we aren't a priority is because there haven't been any accidents or deaths there. So that's a terrible reason for that to be, because they're just being reactive rather than proactive. But there are some things that we can do to get ready for that. And in 2022, Highway 19 is scheduled on MoDOT's schedule for resurfacing, and so that would be the ideal time to be able to do that. So if we can get ourselves situated better with the entry, then that's something that we can do as a proactive approach. Energy efficiency at Mark Twain is definitely something that we need to look at. Since these buildings are 61 and 50 years old, things have changed a lot in that time. Our windows and doors alone are a big problem with efficiency. We have several sections, you'll see the pictures as they go around, where we just have walls of windows. Hallways are cold, hallways are hot in the summer. They leak, their wind whistles through them. We have some windows in classrooms that they won't shut properly, and so we've bolted them shut. That's actually causes more of an issue. Those teachers know which ones they are. They have a hammer or something in their room, so if they ever have to escape, they can get out. I mean, that's reality. It's what it is. So those things are pointed out. Facility improvements, the detached buildings, band, choir, FFA would have a remodel, not the newest FFA shop building, but the older FFA building. The softball field is here in Center, as you know, and it would be moved onto our campus, which solves a couple of problems. When we sold Center Elementary and then it was resold, we lost our parking for spectators, and that became a problem last fall. Our students right now, our student athletes, whenever they come over to the softball field, they have to commute from our school over here, and if it was on campus, they'd be able to be right there, so that would be a benefit of that. Our track would get an all-weather surface. It would give a walking area for our community members. We don't have any real good walking areas in this community that are away from the highway, so that would give a surface for that. We would also add fencing along the south side of our campus, which would give some added security, because right now we don't have any way to stop people from coming in on the south side. We don't have any way to, track that at all. Our football field would get a new ticketing and concession area, and then security, lighting efficiency. Those 10 lights that are around our football field, boy, the meter's just cranking whenever they're on. So I think they said that they could do like 4 lights with the new LEDs, and it would be brighter and definitely much more efficient. And then a fixed set of bleachers on the visitor side. That's still to be, worked out. We might actually, I don't know. We don't know all the details of that, but right now we move our bleachers up from the baseball field up to football, and that's kind of an insurance no-no. So we know that we need to definitely address that. Funding breakdown with that $8 million, $996,000 would be to remove the asbestos. It costs a lot to do that. There's certain regulations you have to follow, then you have to dispose of it the right way. Lots of details, but that's 12.4%. $1.59 million would be to increase safety and security. That's 19.7% of the whole budget. $1.1 million to add energy efficiency, and we know we would get our return back on that. And then 4.3 would be for facility improvements. What will it cost? On the pamphlet at the back, and also going around on one of the papers, there on the very back of the pamphlet, it talks about what your assessed value is for your home or your personal property, and it gives you some examples of what your difference will be, because that's really what it comes down to for a voter. And then also on the back of the pamphlet is the tax rate comparison. Our tax for Rawls County School District has not changed since 1994, which, yes, that's something to be proud of, but it's also something to be aware of. And right now, when we compare ourselves with the area schools and our conference schools, we are the second lowest. And even with this 20 cents, we would only move into third place. So it's a very minor change. All of the other surrounding schools around us within the last 2 years have passed a tax increase to support their schools. So we're hoping that, we think it's time for that to happen here as well. Just a little history on the committee process. We started a long-range facility committee last March, and they met regularly over the next several months. They used surveys, they took tours of the building, they did appraisals on the building of what their opinions were whenever they toured it and what they saw and what they wanted. And they prioritized the list of all the ideas that our community members gave us, and they worked that through. And another big thing to point out is the original plan was over $12 million. And we took that to the school board, and they nodded their head that, yeah, that looks great, but it's a very pie in the sky idea. And they told us to go back and work on it, and we went from over $12 million to the $8 million. We made cuts, we got it down to the bare bones of what we really felt like we needed. So I think that's another important thing to point out. Tours are available. If you want to contact me, I can take you on a tour of the facility anytime you want, but I do have some set times on March 23rd. That's when parent-teacher conferences are going on, and I'm going to do those at 5:30 and at 7. But again, if that time doesn't work for you, give me a call, and I'll be glad to take anybody on a tour and show them. Because I think when you see it, then you'll know that it definitely is in need of some updates. And then Pete's here, like I said. If you have any questions for me, please just ask. I want people to go to the polls and know what it's about. I want them to understand what the questions are. That's really what my goal is. I have 21 different visits set up over the next 2 months of different committees, different clubs, different organizations, and I'm just trying to make sure that everybody understands what it's about. Any questions? We're gonna have school tomorrow? I've already been asked that 100 times, so.
Well,
I know the press box is new, but it would be best if the people that built the football field.
It needs to be on the other side.
Needs to be on the other side.
So you're not facing the sun. And
And
that's
I-
where I was gonna go, and I thought, nope, I'm not gonna go there.
I don't know if you can do that or not.
Yes,
but,
yes, I'm very aware of that.
When they first built the school, no one in this area had ever played football. So it just, I mean, that's for convenience of our fans.
I would agree. I would agree. Any other questions? And I don't know about school yet.
He wants these back.
Yes, I'll collect those in a little bit, yes. Okay.
You guys in the audience want to look at those pictures?
Yeah, I think I'll bring them out here too.
Yeah.
They all have it over here. Is this all of them? That's what I see.
Okay, so we're gonna kind of jump around here a little bit tonight. I'm gonna let Joey McMillen go next, and it's under new business. It's under, number C, new business, ballot language.
Well, I am, you guys hired me 2 months ago or so at the last board meeting, and I unfortunately was the bearer of bad news. Your bond issue that you guys passed 2 years ago, let's see,
I think it's
2014, 15?
14, 15.
2014, the ballot language was illegal. And so we had to, illegal may be too strong of a word, the ballot language was incorrect and not precise enough. And so I went round and round with the actual bond attorneys that have to give an opinion on it, and they said they can't get there, and what would happen is it's likely you would not be able to issue your bonds. And so, really, you'll have to do it over again. And so I know when you hired me last time, you weren't thinking, boy, this will be great, bring this guy on, help us with the bond issue, and then I tell you, you gotta start over. And so, I apologize for that, but the last thing you really want to do is to be halfway into this project, have your engineers moving forward, and then say, oh, by the way, you can't do your bond issue, you have no money to do this. And so in front of you is a resolution authorizing, no, an ordinance, putting it on the April ballot. What we will do is what you apparently did before, and make sure that you get to the voters the information that while you can do this, and the state can force you into doing this without a ballot, this is the cheapest way to do it. There's subsidized interest rates, the USDA is providing grants, but without a voted bond or a legally voted bond, you will not be able to get grants or low interest rate loans. So this is absolutely the cheapest approach. And so Jeannie was nice enough to call me and say, we're seeing a blizzard, you don't have to come across the state for us. And I said, too late. I was up at Culver Stockton teaching, so I was like, yeah, I'm already here, so I'm coming home. So I'm coming right by. So if there are any questions?
And can you tell us, what was this bond for exactly again?
This is there's two ordinances. One is to combine your water and sewer system into a combined system. Now, you will treat them separately because it's a better way to do it. But together, they make each other stronger. So that's, you don't own the water system? Well, then let's not combine them. We'll just skip that. Then on the ballot, does the ballot say combined water system?
Yes.
Okay, well then cross out. You need to change it before you bring it to the county. But cross it out on this and we will change it. So the sewer system, we will take, obviously we'll have it corrected and we'll have a copy up to you guys tomorrow to sign off on.
But my question is, you want this bond issue for $200,000, right? $2 million.
Yes, sir.
But if Tracy hadn't stole all the money she had, we'd be in good shape.
I think it was you or someone that said, didn't you work for us before? And in fact, 40 years ago, we did your first bond issue. And I think that's why we thought it was a what? Did you guys at one time own a combined system?
No.
Never?
We've never,
It's always been. So, I don't know anything about Tracy or what she did.
Well,
Except I did hear she got a new judge. Does that mean anything to anybody?
Yes.
Someone mentioned it to me, I was like, oh, okay, great. I didn't know it
change
happened.
of opinion.
So we passed a $2 million bond, how many years ago?
2014, I believe.
2014, and who wrote that bond for us?
I have no idea.
We don't know.
It's and in fact, we had to go to the county to get the documents.
Mhm.
And while you guys passed it, it really just didn't say anything about whether it was a revenue bond secured by the revenues of the system or a general obligation bond, which is secured by the taxes of the system. And it's that sort of thing that kind of throws everything into a flux.
So basically, we're asking for the voters to reapprove this $2 million bond, and the bond will be used for the sewer system, building the new sewer system, or underneath the roads. What are we using this bond for?
It'd be, if I were the engineer, I would know, but I don't know yet. So we need to get I don't know anything about the project, nor do I, a lot of times someone will say, well, you just financed a new sewer system. Do you want to go see it? And my answer is always no.
Great. Well, who can answer that, though?
The engineer.
Well, I mean, it's our bond.
The
The ones we've
engineer,
been working with.
the engineers that we hired when you were on board, we hired those engineers
Right.
to do the
the smoke
project.
test and.
Right,
Yes.
yeah.
So
And
So-
this is just locking in the finances.
That's
and it's
exactly
not
right.
saying we're gonna use $2 million, but we can bond up to that.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
And
it's just-
if,
yeah.
again, since
But-
I assumed it was less than $2 million, if not, I would have recommended, I always recommend more because you can always go after more grants if you have more authorization. But you probably know that if you were on it originally.
Yeah, my question was, and refresh my memory on that, and I was on the board. So they done the smoke test, and they gave us a deal because we had a grant for all that. We paid $5,000. Is that correct? I believe.
Right, yeah.
Now, what did they tell us? Surely they told
He
us
has
something.
If he was here tonight, he could explain it, but he has a plan, and that there's big part of the sewer line is gonna be replaced.
Okay.
And then they'll either acquire some ground south of town at that lagoon, or they'll go out here north of town and, put in a drip system.
We talked about a
where
drip
it's no
system.
discharge into the creeks.
Yeah.
And that,
I've got his interview on recording
Yeah.
still. I honestly, and still, I'll go back to when I was on the board, I think we can, with this new passing of Donald Trump, with the Clean Water Act, I think we fall, from what I've studied, we fall within
don't
that.
have to use that bond ever if we don't have to do it.
I'm not talking about the bond, but I'm talking about, we need to research into that Clean Water Act, because I think we're in compliance now. with
If it,
the-
again, yeah, that's.
And we could use that bond to actually do the sewers in the streets versus spending millions out there on something that works perfectly fine. It's not harming anything, it just disappears for a mile and a half.
I would absolutely check with your engineer, because if in fact that's the case, yes, you can, because it'll be for the repair, the extension and improvement of the system, which can include that, but it could also improve,
Right.
do everything in town. So, yeah, that makes sense, but again, get with your engineer, make sure you're paying for something you need.
Right, yeah, because that's,
And you guys will do that, and your engineer.
They have that in the plan.
Yeah, they would have, I mean, they'll double check, because they don't wanna do anything. There are a few that might, but most of the engineers in the state won't do something you might need.
So what we need to do then is strike the word waterworks.
Yes.
I was gonna ask about that because I didn't understand why it was even in. And then we need to pass these two ordinances.
Just one, because the other one combines it, you don't own the other half.
Oh, we have to change it. So just ordinance 222, Joe?
That is exactly right, and we will get the new documents to you tomorrow. So don't sign anything tonight. I'll call bond counsel and make sure you guys get them.
We'll get those to Joe and he'll get them to the judge.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay, so, do you wanna handle it? Okay, then Joe will handle it, I won't even worry about it.
Okay.
This one's got combined waterworks in it too.
Cross, is that the minutes, excerpt of the minutes?
They both do.
Yeah, that,
So all we need to do is pass the ordinance tonight, then.
putting it on the ballot.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the main
He'll
thing.
get the judge to sign it and we'll get it. And the reason we wanna push to get it in the April election, because if we wait till August, it's gonna cost the city a couple $1,000s to put on the ballot. Whereas we have stuff on the ballot for April, so it won't cost anything.
Just have to get a court order for the next.
We just have to get a court order from the judge. And,
We've already got that drawn up.
right,
That's part of what we have here.
Yeah.
right.
So you want me to do it first and second?
Yes.
Okay, first reading, an ordinance calling election of revenue bond question in Center, Missouri. First reading.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Christie makes a motion to approve. Is there a second to that?
yeah,
All in favor?
Second reading, an ordinance calling election on a revenue bond question in Center, Missouri.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
Yep.
Second, all in favor? All right, that is passed.
Now, approximately 3 to 4 weeks before the election, I don't like doing it sooner, like your superintendent's nice enough to do, because I'd rather it be fresher in the eyes of the voters when you move forward. And I want to have a public meeting just to explain why they're seeing this again.
Okay.
It would be here, we'll have something not as elaborate as you did, you have a great brochure, but, and I was doing the math. Really, the most expensive thing on there is 50 cents a day, is that right? I mean, it is cheaper than a cup of coffee, that's remarkable. And so, we will be doing exactly what you did before, explaining it to the community of why this is happening, the grants we will get, and that we don't have to do anything, unless they force it upon you, unless the USDA, or DNR. Yeah.
Right.
And so, and we should be, or unless you obviously have, problems, with the water lines, but you do not have to issue the full amount, nor do you want to. So that's all I've got for you, and I'm heading back. I'm heading over to Culver Stockton all the time, so we coordinate, this is easy.
Okay, good.
All right.
Thank you, Joey.
Have a
very
safe
much.
trip.
The fire chief, Brian Bolish, is here tonight. He's got a request for some equipment that we need. Brian?
We, run into an instance at the nursing home there a couple weeks ago where we had a patient that was taken to the hospital. And after he got to the hospital called back and said that he had an 8.3 reading with carbon monoxide, which is 4 times the limit of normal. And so immediately they called and said, we need to come check the place. And at that time, I called the ambulance district, and we was in preparation to evacuate the whole nursing home. So we went in there with our meter, which our meter was old, and we couldn't get it calibrated, we couldn't get it tested. So I had to go to New London, get theirs. Their battery was dead. So it turned into quite an ordeal. We was there until 3 o'clock in the morning trying to get all through all this. But we ordered a gas meter so we can test, and I mean, it works for houses, it works for confined spaces. It's a little bit more up to date than what we had, because the other one needed calibration and it needs an update to be able to calibrate it. Well, the update is $1,000. This unit that we have purchased is only $895, and it's a brand new unit, and it's got 4 gas meters. So say that we have a grain bin issue over here, and we have to go in the grain bin to rescue somebody. It does confined space. I mean, it's so much up to date that the other one was carbon monoxide only. We couldn't do anything with it. So, and I've also ordered 2 of the smaller ones that are carbon monoxide only. All they do is the alarm. They won't give you a reading or anything like that, but it's so a couple of them could have, if we're going in somewhere, we at least got something on that will detect for our safety, no less. So, and I'd already talked to the rural board, and they said that if the city was not willing to pay for it, they would pay for it. That's the reason I went on ahead and ordered it, because for one thing, we needed it, and we had to get that going. So, it actually should be here tomorrow or Friday, is what they're telling me. But the total cost is $1,385. And my theory is it was kind of more or less, most of this is the reason of the city use, that I was just trying to see if the city would be willing to pay for half of that.
So you're requesting half.
Half of the 13.
Yeah, half of the 13.
650.
Yeah.
Any discussion on that?
I've already talked to him. I'm all for it.
Yeah,
I'll make a motion.
okay, I'll second.
Motion made, second, to approve the purchase for half the purchase of the testers. All right, all in favor?
Hey, while Brian's here, could we ask him about this?
Yeah, that's a good idea. What do you do with it?
Thanks, insurance on volunteer fire
It's in an
department.
envelope. You have it in an envelope.
Insurance on volunteer fire department?
No, it's not
Yeah.
that.
Oh.
No, it's not
That
that.
should be taken care of.
This is.
That's a different-
This is a whole different one. This is,
You didn't put it in my file, so I don't have it.
okay,
That's it. Okay.
I have the envelope. I took it out of there and handed it to you, I thought.
Did you put center box in there instead?
Yeah, he put cinder blocks on the inside.
Well, there's a registry called SAM.
Sam?
Yeah,
There it was in that envelope.
no, this isn't it.
Right.
Here it is. Okay. System for award management registration. And when I called the lady, she said you have to be a member of it in order to be considered for any federal grants.
For the fire department.
Sam's.
For the fire department. Are you aware of it?
I'm aware of the Sam's. I wasn't aware that, well, we talked to you about that.
The DUNS number.
Yeah, Dunn's number.
We have DUNS number when we applied back in 2004 to 5 for the trucks and everything. The but talking to the lady, and I forwarded as much as I could to you, that
Yeah.
the last was the city of Center, when you were applying for some agri grants. I'm gonna guess it was probably for some of your sewer or some of the other,
Okay.
that you guys, the SAMPS number was under the city of Center.
Oh,
It wasn't under the fire department. I can tell you, yes, I did have a DUNS number back then.
but you're
SAMPS
right, it
wasn't
says
necessary.
City of Center.
The city of Center, and it was for some agriculture grants for, back in 2009 was the last time it was
Oh,
used,
okay.
according to her.
Okay.
Right.
So basically, they said if the city of Center wants to apply for any other federal grants, basically through the Department of Agriculture, that you would have to have an updated SAMS number.
I see. I would think we would have to do that because we need to do it. I don't know.
The only thing you would want to contact is that if you have to apply, if you went for a grant and you did not have the SAMS number, then you would call up. One, you may, I don't know what the cost would be at that time for the city center.
I see.
Two is you may have a waiting period to have that, so you may not be able to apply for your grant when that comes up.
So is this an annual charge, or is this,
That's an annual charge that you have on there, and I think off the top of it was $390 or something like that, but
It's
you can buy.
$43.99.
Yeah.
Right.
Which seems kind of high to be a. I would think the engineers would have that planned somehow.
No, but if we don't have that, then when the grant comes available, we can't apply for the grant.
Maybe I should ask them.
I have
And if
a
there's,
number from the school, and we go directly through SAM, and there's no charge, it's like sam.gov.
Sam.gov? Huh.
and
So
there's
that's
no
That's
charge?
probably a side company that is helping you do the paperwork, and
I wouldn't even ask them for it, they just sent it to us.
No, they did, but I wanted you guys to have that
I
information,
understand.
and that's why I forwarded it in, because it basically came somehow through Brian. Brian knew that I did grants in the past, passed it on to me, the research I called
Yeah.
them up on, and they basically, because they identified the DUNS, and actually the card they sent had the city of Center, I believe Tracy's name was on it, because most likely that would have been who went through there, but the address was completely
tried to
wrong.
make it look
And the
really-
number I had, she asked the number, and that ended up being a Florida account. So even their numbers are, so it could be, as Terry's saying, is that this is a secondary or third party person
Yeah.
trying to get into this involvement, like you paid this, and we'll
Yeah.
have this type of thing, so.
Yeah, 'cause it's coming
I
from
would go
Florida.
directly, as Terry said, right to Sam's.gov
Okay.
and see what it is.
Right.
And talk to somebody, so there may not even be a charge. If that information came, and we wanted to pass it back along.
Yeah, there should not be, you shouldn't have to pay to get
the Sam's
the
number.
the DUNS number, or
Okay.
what was the other one? SAM's,
So
yeah.
they called it a
There
SAM.
shouldn't be a charge for that.
And again, when we did our federal
But you in
grants,
charge of that?
there was, no Sam's number, it was strictly done. But there are always changes. I
We
just
can have Roy look into the
Page number too.
Sam's
I would
.gov.
look up the thing and see what they got.
Okay, so we got that took care of,
Okay.
right? All right, so you wanna start up here at the top? Okay, so we got an ordinance here for establishing compensation rates for the elected officials. So, and our ordinance that we have doesn't say what we're supposed to pay. So we need to amend it to say,
We pass the ordinance.
yeah. So I need a motion to,
We need to read.
an ordinance establishing compensation for rates for elected officials, bill number 224. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Yep, I'll make it.
Second to that. All right, so I gotta read it again, all right? An ordinance establishing compensation rates for elected officials. And if anybody wants to know what they are, it's $240 a year for alderman and $350 for the mayor. Do I hear a motion to approve that?
I'll make one.
I'll second.
Unless
All
it's
in favor?
me.
Who was, Tom, did you do this?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, motion
I get
carried.
160.
Now we know how much money you're gonna get.
Thank you.
So we don't have to do anything about police truck battery's been replaced, and we've unhooked every possible thing that we could unhook on it, and we've been starting it up once a week, letting it run.
Oh,
Keep the battery charged up.
can I ask a question, Dennis? On that amendment, and that's what was confusing, that 240 years, does that go by month, or is that a yearly pay?
It's annual.
Annual
It is
pay.
annual?
Yes.
Okay, that probably needs to be clarified in there
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, it is, it says it
It says annual.
It's on annual.
Okay, because I didn't get paid when Tracy was here,
We heard
what I was
about
supposed to
that.
be paid.
I didn't either.
And you didn't either, because
Yeah.
we weren't liked by
So
her,
that's why
so
it's now
that's why
says
it needs to
annual.
be,
Right,
No, it is, it's annual now.
yeah. It says on our annually, so if you don't go to any meetings, you're still gonna get paid. Right.
well, I noticed
Because you're
everybody else
two or
did,
three a
yes.
month.
Yeah, because you're still an
Yeah, or
alderman.
if you have 2 or
all
3
year.
months, it's gonna be the same.
You're an
Right.
alderman all year
Yeah.
long.
No, everybody else always got paid, except for me and Christie.
And the police truck right front door outside mirror is broken. And we don't have a clue what happened, how it happened. Did you notice it, Tom?
No, I never noticed it.
Yeah.
Packing in
Me
and out.
neither till she brought it to my
Holly,
attention.
Holly,
Well, but it was sitting out here for a while too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Just sitting outside looking like,
Holly pulled in one time, and I told,
Well, I almost had happened. It could have been broke since July.
Oh,
We
yeah.
don't know.
It could have
Yeah,
been
nobody
broke a long
moved
time
it.
but
ago.
I told Lori.
it's just
when
broken
back
because it
out.
won't move, correct?
It won't
No, it's
move.
broken.
No, you
It's
can
the
see
back
it.
seat is
It's like,
cracked off.
yeah, it's cracked. There's like the plastic that holds it.
be pictures.
We don't have them. But I know you took some.
I told Lori.
We got
backing
pictures
it
of
out,
bricks.
Be careful, because there ain't much clearance, you only got about
Right.
that much clearance.
Yeah.
Yeah, coming in that
So
doorway.
before she went out to get in the truck to even move it, she went around to go push the mirror in, and it wouldn't move, so she asked me to come out and look to see.
Now we know I got broke.
Mhm.
She asked me to come out and look at it. and
So
see
you
if-
broke it?
No, I didn't break it. I just confirmed that it was already broke before
Just
she
confirmed that
even
she broke,
moved
that
it.
Lori broke it.
Oh, and
What?
oh, she's got pictures.
I took them, I thought that I.
It's kinda hard to see it, but it won't move in because of the way it's
I
broken.
tried to push it in, cause he told me it was the clearance, so I was gonna push it in and pay attention to the one on the driver's side, but it wouldn't push in.
I wouldn't look at it. I don't
It
know.
won't.
Yeah.
I don't think mine mirror pushed it in.
It should, the driver's side it pushed in,
But
so that's
like
what
I
was
said,
gonna
it
do.
could have been broke for a
And I've
long
called
time.
2 people that have had them come and do an estimate, and they haven't showed up yet.
So now we're all aware.
You
of
wanna
that.
see it?
Yeah.
I don't know, Hess could give you an estimate, Hess replaces them all the time up there.
Who does?
Hess, or even
I
Lakes,
mean, all it is
Oh,
we're in the
okay,
mirror.
okay.
Yeah, either one of you guys could probably fix it.
and I'd like to keep the business local.
Yeah, we do too.
Well, I did, I called both of them.
Oh, you've called them?
They
I
haven't
got you.
showed up yet.
I
All
thought,
right, John Palmer's here tonight, and you guys have got this in your packets. Request that we change the name of, rename a street. The small road behind the Veterans Park, it's not even a named street now. And there wouldn't be any houses or any addresses that would have to be changed, and he would like to change that to Charles Enlow Lane, because Charles Enlow was killed in action in Vietnam, and he was maybe the only one that we're aware of that lived inside the city of center that was killed in action.
I got the idea when I was insuring houses. I had one in Centralia, and they had named the street after a veteran. And they didn't find his remains until just a couple of years ago, and they had a celebration named the street after him. They had a funeral. They'd never had a funeral because they couldn't identify him. But Edna Furch was Charles' sister.
Right.
I think that's a great idea.
I
I think
do
this
too.
is great. And I love having a Memorial Day ceremony that would,
And I can get in touch with his son, who lives in the Kansas City area. And
Oh, that'd be great.
Does the courthouse still make the county road signs? Do they still have that machine in the basement? Do you see that done? I was just thinking they could maybe make up the streets.
you need two.
One at each end, right, yeah.
But that, there's no addresses to be changed.
Right, there's
Right.
no, right.
Or we could.
So we need a motion for that, we may have to spend some money for it,
I'll make a motion.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Motion made, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's a great idea,
I do
great
too.
thing.
Yeah.
All right, Tom, the depot,
Yeah,
it needs some work.
yeah, the roof's coming off of it, out from the front of it,
Mm-hmm.
and the boards around it, facer boards, getting in bad shape. So, we want to get bids on it, or what, it needs to be fixed if we're gonna keep.
Didn't we turn that over to Perry?
We did. Yeah,
So-
we leased it to the Historical Society.
That's what I mean, aren't they
Yeah.
responsible for it, or no?
They don't have any money, I can tell you that, because I talked to Ronnie Leak about it. They don't have any money to fix it. I hate to just see it go to
Yeah, I think,
pot.
right. It's a story.
I would be in favor of trying to get it fixed up if we can. Maybe we can have a fundraiser, or maybe we can get some volunteers to do the work, whatever.
They could ask for volunteers too to help, right?
Right.
I probably have some old tin that would look good on it, you know, they take it back.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think what they had was tar paper there on, the main roof is fine, it's on that.
Yeah, on the lean-to, I saw that falling
And
in.
the sulfate's all rotted out too.
But I have some tin I could donate. It's,
Buy some plywood.
I may even have some
We're
lumber.
gonna put tin, we'd have to put plywood up.
Maybe plan a day where everybody just goes and
I think if you advertise it, there'd be people to donate the
Yeah, I
materials
think
for
so
it.
too.
Maybe we can do that this month, see where it goes for next month, see who calls and who
So do what now?
would be interested. Try to get it together this month. I
Okay,
mean, it's February,
right.
Yeah.
get it ready for
The
the
weather be a
spring.
little better.
Yeah.
And the two sheds,
Well, Rick Reberg said he would rent both of them for $100 a month, both of them. I don't know what he wants to park in there.
Who,
he rent both of them for $100 a month.
Right.
who was that?
Rick Reberg?
Okay,
You're talking about the two open fronted ones?
The two open front of them.
And we offered, well, we just offered one pad, Mike Roberts for $100. Yeah.
But Mike didn't take it, did he? I never heard.
No, he didn't take it as far as I know.
I mean,
Do we have to use it, do we use it for anything?
There's some old straw in one of them, I think, from the nativity scene, but other than that, I don't think there's anything in them, is there, Tom?
the old straw, but most of it ain't no good.
Well, that's what I said, yeah. And I got some a couple of years ago.
There's several bales of straw inside the regular building.
I mean, I put the truck in underneath there a couple times during the summer when they were doing some work inside for the merry-go-round or whatever, but I mean, other than that.
Whatever you all think, I don't have, doesn't matter to me.
I don't
Not at all.
we need
Yeah, right.
only rent one,
I'm like,
maybe
yeah.
the other.
And if it's not used, I mean, that's
Right.
fine, I wanted to know if
maybe
it's
you
ever
should,
used.
yeah, maybe you should say something like that, as long as we don't have use for it.
We don't have to put that out.
Should be month to month anyway.
Yeah.
Anytime we want to.
Yeah, I would think a month, because if something happens and we need it, we'll have to open that up, or we can.
Oh, I'd say probably.
So make
Make it
motion?
zero.
Make a motion.
Yep.
I'll make a motion.
Second to that? All in favor? Okay, hey, we got a community service guy, this is just maybe some more information on mine. We got a community service guy that's got 100 hours, he's got to perform. And, I had him clean this gutters, and he's supposed to come back Monday and clean the ones up from the post office to the library, but he didn't show back up on Monday. But anyway, I thought about letting him use my little trailer in the city truck make some signs up or put something in the paper or whatever on Facebook. Everybody put, all these tree limbs that's fell in everybody's yard from the wind, put them out next to the curb, have him go by and pick them up. And we'll take them out to the old lagoon, make us a brush pile, and when Brian tells us it's all right, we'll burn 'em. I mean, is anybody opposed to that? For
No,
him to
there's a
do-
lot of
to do
people
that?
out there that can get rid of their limbs.
He's got a driver's license, ain't
I'm assuming he does. Yeah, maybe he don't, hell, I don't know, that may be why he's got community service, but I don't think it's a reason.
It's not
I'll
my-
check on that and make sure he does have a driver's license.
That's not my brother, is it?
No. No, he lives beside the daycare right up here in that little house
It'd
on
be right
the
in front
corner.
of John.
Huh?
It'd be right in front.
Right in front of you, your neighbor.
I don't know him.
Okay, well,
I'll take some cookies over
That's your
there.
story.
all right, you got something on sewer camera, Tom?
Yeah, some literature, I don't know how much y'all want to spend, they got a special on this first one. Oh, tell us what all it is. Did you get one?
I got one.
Did you talk to, Christie, you was gonna talk to somebody?
I did, I talked to the, Ron up at Board of Public Works, and, I mean, what they deal with, I mean, they're dealing with $100,000 robots that go in, and I said, oh, that's a little expensive
Yeah,
for what we're
we're
looking
not-
for. He did actually call a gentleman that sells used stuff, and used cameras and things, and he sent me an email today, pictures to follow. I did ask him, okay, what do you have? Now, if it's the $100,000, $80,000 cameras, we're not interested, but I kind of explained what we needed, and I'm just waiting now to hear from him. But Tom found one. Yeah. For $5,000, sorry, $5,000, well, $4,800.
You get a free
$95.
locator.
And you get a free locator.
Wow, that's really good.
So,
It's only got 150 foot of holes on it, but
Yeah, it's a rigid. Can you buy more? Because lots of places, the manholes are farther apart than that.
well, you can get 200 on it. But I talked to Chris Caldwell,
Guess you could go in from both
yeah,
ways.
that's what he said, you go in
Yeah.
both ways.
Yeah.
And it's got a chip,
And then you can take it to the computer like the one, yeah.
I take the policeman's computer ain't been used, nothing, don't know that sewer stuff in on.
Fine with me.
Use it for entertainment, and just hook it up to Wi-Fi.
it comes with a free Wi-Fi package. Yeah.
I think we'd be needing one with a battery pack instead of one in out. You don't have to carry it.
Yeah, that way you don't have to have a generator to take
Right.
with you to run it.
So, we're still looking for some more information. Still waiting for some more information.
I don't think they're gonna give it to you, it's cheap.
Yeah. Was that through an individual or?
No,
You know,
it's a company that.
NPE supplies, it says.
While you're looking at
Might
it,
have to
check on the batteries.
Check on the,
On the batteries, because if you go battery, make sure what the replacement cost is, because sometimes the replacement cost on batteries on some of that stuff is just as high as your unit.
Is your,
Oh, that's not
yeah.
good.
So,
12 volt lithium battery.
you better just make sure on that what they are for replacements before you go that route.
Like ink.
Does it use a regular rigid battery? If it's a
12
12 volt lithium, you might wanna ask that in the warranty.
or a 120 volt electric plug.
right, which you're not gonna probably have access to unless you got
Rigid
your.
battery.
Here's all.
Yeah, that would be great if you used a regular rigid battery.
At the last meeting, while you guys are looking that over, we, talked about the front door at the city hall. Well, we had Lynn come and he fixed that thing up and caulked the windows and, yeah, he got it all back in good shape.
Yeah, put steel over it.
But he wrapped it all so that, where
I
that,
can tell the difference,
yeah,
because the windows, they were really bad, and he did those.
he wrapped the
He came
windows and the
inside
door
and
frames
sealed
and all
everything on
that
the
with
inside.
aluminum.
Okay,
Yeah,
it's warmer in there too.
yeah.
Yeah.
If you
And then
don't-
caulked it all.
And the door opens and shuts every time. Every time.
Isn't that a great thing?
It is.
I mean, you take for granted, but it is, it's a great thing.
I don't jump back to old business, but on the time sheets on David Gray, I haven't heard from that guy, so I guess everything.
I got all that information, and as far as here it is right here. As far as I know, here's what I did. I called Mike, and, so he had Branson Wells call me, and he's the, keeper of the records for 911. And so I told Branson what we needed, so, and I sent him a copy of this letter from Michael Stipes, and, so he calls me back. Branson said, "Just let me take care of that." So he gets all this information, which is everything that Stipes wanted, and here's the letter, here's what I got back from Stipes in the email, or staff, or however you say his name. It says, "I received the radio logs this afternoon. I looked at them, but I left my office early today due to weather. I think that's the last information we will need. I appreciate your assistance. I've received from everybody. Thanks for everything." And I emailed him back and I said, well, is there any other grants that we're gonna have to be concerned about, because he doesn't work for us anymore? And he said, I said, if you have any more questions, feel free to contact me. He didn't reply. So I'm assuming that he worked all the days. I've got a copy of all the days here that he worked and what he did on all the days that he requested. So I guess that he did work those days. He was logged into 911.
That's right.
So we don't have to worry about paying that $1,700, which is a good
Can
thing.
you get that, sir? I don't have any ready.
All right, she's got, a thing here and I don't, does everybody have this in their packet about the premium for the fire department?
Yes, they did.
Okay, all right, very good. So do we need to, is that gonna be in the bills when we go to pay the bills, or do we need to do that separate? or what?
Separate, it went in the bills.
Okay.
Just add it to your bill motion, we'll pay that as well.
Okay, all right, very good, very good.
It wasn't on the bills,
Well,
but
I
I had it
just- I
out
seen-
separate, so I
Right.
just realized it wasn't in there.
Oh, that's why you put it in there.
Oh,
Okay.
you-
Well, I didn't understand what it was a question you had, what we supposed to pay it or.
Well, I didn't know whether they wanted to do it.
But this is probably gonna go on.
That was my question, as to whether or not they wanted to continue this policy.
That's right, okay.
The
So-
accident, it's an accident policy, did you want to continue it?
So, for one of the volunteer firemen, we've always had this in force, isn't that right?
Since 2016.
Yeah. It's if, one of the volunteer firefightermen gets hurt fighting the fire, that it pays its accident policy.
Right,
Oh, you wanna keep.
Because they're at the state minimum workers' compensation rate of $40 a week, so
Right.
if they get hurt, it's not gonna pay them hardly anything.
Yeah.
Right.
but it does pay them also if they,
So does the rule pay half this, or how's it work?
usually that's how we do it.
Yeah.
Like we pay half.
And it's
of the-
$1,031.43. That's
See,
annual.
what we do, Dennis, and I think, I'm just reminding you, we put half the money into the town and country account, and
Right.
the rural puts in
Right.
half. So anything that's shared, it all gets paid out of town and country,
So all the insurance
everything.
for the fire
That is
department,
for-
the same way?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's gonna cost the city $500.
Right, 500, yeah, right, 15, whatever it is, right. All right, anything else tonight?
Can I ask if, we heard anything on the escrow money on the Ray case?
No, we appeared earlier in the week on the Ray case. One thing I've heard, I saw a motion withdrawn by Mr. Wassinger, attorney for David Ray. I assume it's because David Ray can't pay him anymore, probably.
Well, he knows he can't win.
You need to withdraw from representative.
He's filed a motion to withdraw, he hasn't withdrawn yet.
Good.
But no, that's the status of it, we appear next month again for any motions that are gonna be filed.
So if, with him filing that and nothing goes on next month, then it's over? And we can use that money, or what is that?
It's not over. Pleadings have been filed. We don't have a trial date or anything like that at this point.
Okay.
And quite honestly, James and I are waiting for some of the audit information to come back to see if we need to amend our pleadings to ask for more of a judgment against them than just that money that's in escrow.
Well, about 10
Yeah.
days ago, the auditor told me that it'll probably be mid-April, the 1st of May, before they have it.
We're not in a hurry to
Yeah, I
do it
mean-
from our side.
I mean, there's still a vehicle being driven around that belongs to us. No,
Still a what?
What?
there are two vehicles.
Oh, yeah.
Tracy's and David's
Right,
vehicles,
right.
GMAC account.
Yes, yes.
You know, it'd be nice to seize that as well.
Got to get judgment
Yeah,
first
as
before
soon as we-
the assets, yeah. Yeah, that's.
Because me and James were in the process of doing that the month before. We were gonna look into seizing those vehicles or putting them, and he worded it correctly, I believe, on there, that we can go after those vehicles. That was our conversation anyway, you know.
James and I are on the same page, wait until the audit information comes back at this point in time.
But I haven't spoke to James, so I don't know.
I understand, he's representing the city now on that.
Right.
Yeah. That's the update I can tell you.
And they said the middle of April?
Or even May.
Or even 1st of May, that's what he, yeah, the last word that I got.
Yeah, we could have a nice city, couple more city trucks, I guess.
Do we need to make this?
Do we need to make a motion to pay this?
We're gonna put it on with
Add
the
it
bills.
on with
Add it on with the bills, okay.
Right. I don't think we're down to that.
Okay, now what about this camera? What do you all wanna do about this camera? Because right now with this camera being on
Timing.
sale, if we wait until next month, it won't be. So, what,
I think no more than they use it, I think that's how it is.
Whatever y'all want to do, I know it's just gonna go on sale in a couple of
So,
weeks.
maybe just talk about doing.
So we're getting $8,000 worth of stuff for 5. Says total savings $3,800,
yeah,
It was
$3,300.
plus
Yeah.
getting the locate.
Chris, if you want to do it, make a motion, we'll see
Yep.
what everybody else weighs in on.
That's right.
well, I think we need a camera.
I
Especially
agree.
with spring and especially with all the flooding and that, it's gonna be a nightmare.
We can chase it
About
down.
a month.
Hopefully you're wrong about that. But anyway,
What are they
yeah,
saying
we-
about flooding this year, Brian?
Mississippi's gonna flood.
Well, I'm gonna make a motion to go ahead and
And then we'll
purchase
do
this
it.
because if we can get an $8,000 camera for 5,000,
It looks like you're getting a lot of extras with it.
yeah,
Does it come with the batteries, Tom?
yeah.
You have to buy the battery stuff.
And
I think
are-
that's a good point
And they
right
are
there.
rechargeable,
It includes,
and I said, see what, yeah.
Well, it just says
oh, it
operates
says
on.
operates, but it's not saying it does. We need to find out about that. It says the system includes. What it said is it includes it, so,
Yeah, might not have
I
a
mean, it
battery.
says it operates, but it's underneath what it's included in.
You can approve the funds and then ask more questions.
Yeah.
And one of the main questions I would ask, does it run on a regular lithium rigid
How much
battery?
does the battery cost to replace it?
Christie, just ask to approve the funds, and then even if it isn't that company, it could be somebody else.
Yeah.
That battery's not included.
It says it right on here, the battery's not included.
Yeah.
Check line from Bob, it tells you what it operates on, but the battery's not in the list.
So glad you guys are here.
And the other thing you might think about too is this guy that's got this used stuff, looking
Yeah,
at it,
but I
they
can
make
approve the
a-
fund, the
You
funds
can
for
approve
it.
the funds, that's exactly
Yeah.
correct. And you don't have to buy that one.
It doesn't have to be
Yeah,
that
right.
one.
Just
Just,
get
and,
something
Yeah.
free.
so
Right.
for,
And you don't
Like
have
up
to buy it.
to 10,000
Make
or
sure
whatever.
if we don't
Right.
buy it for- yeah, exactly.
You made a motion.
I've not made a motion yet. I'm thinking about
I
what
would
I'm
go
gonna,
with the
what number
10,000.
I'm gonna put on that motion.
yeah, make sure it's enough.
Yeah. Cause I don't know what everybody's wanting to do for that. What do y'all think, 10,000 and under? For a new camera? It doesn't have to be that much, it
No.
just, but it
I think you
needs to
can
be.
find a good one for $5,000. I would think that would be,
That would be plenty.
well, what do you?
5 or 6?
Yeah.
Or go up to 8.
Y'all are killing me. I'll make a motion to approve $6,000.
Motion been made to approve $6,000 to spend on a, camera, sewer camera. Second to that,
I'll second.
Tom seconded. All in favor? Carried.
All right, got it.
Yeah, that's right. Has everybody had an opportunity to look over the bills? You got any questions about them tonight? Headed uphill.
Nope, I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
Chris, are you including the,
Yeah, we're including the
Yes,
insurance for the fire
including the
department.
insurance for the fire department. Motion's been made to pay the bills, including the insurance for the fire department.
I'll second.
Seconded. All in favor? Anything else for the meeting tonight? So we have 3 applicants, by the way, for this part-time job, but she still has.
Still running in the paper.
She's still got it running in the paper, so.
So when-
Don't worry, we just have to go over those maybe at the next meeting. All right, anything
And
else?
the reason I brought those pictures of the bricks and all, those bricks are left over. So I didn't know if anybody was.
You can take them home with you.
I think Lynn Hammond would kill me. You have to build a little barbecue grill,
Yeah, you can build
barbecue
barbecue.
pit.
You can make a camp pit.
Yeah.
What?
You can make a camp pit.
All right.
There's nothing heavy enough around here to grill it. You're first.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Motion
I'll
been made.
second.
Second, all in favor? Thank you, folks.